Rush Limbaugh, today, passed away at the age of 70 after a long battle with lung cancer. Many of you probably know who he is. He's one of the most influential people in the world, one of the most influential political personalities, and he revolutionized talk radio. He lost his life, and I gotta say, I was never a fan of Rush Limbaugh. I'm not saying I didn't like him. I'm saying I never really listened to his show. A lot of people have been putting out messages saying rest in peace, and I absolutely agree. My condolences to his family. I wish them all the best. But many people have put up messages saying that for conservatives, he was that one voice that provided some kind of comfort. This idea that they weren't alone in what they were seeing. And I understand that feeling. I see the news stories every day. I see the manipulation, the lies, and it's frustrating. It feels like sometimes we're going crazy when we just know that's not true. For many people, they said Rush Limbaugh provided that voice that made everything kind of make sense to them. And also, it showed them that they weren't alone in their beliefs. I've never been a staunch conservative. There are some positions I probably take that are probably conservative, mostly libertarian and probably left-leaning. A lot of people like to comment that they can't stand my economic policy positions, and that's a good thing. I don't want to present an echo chamber or just have people who agree with everything I say come and listen to me. But I will be the first to admit there probably would not be a Timcast podcasting, or even the IRL podcast, or maybe even Joe Rogan without someone like Rush Limbaugh. Interestingly, the Washington Post recently compared Joe Rogan to Rush Limbaugh, saying that he may be the next Rush Limbaugh, which is strange when you think about the politics of the individuals. But I kind of understand it. I do. Now, right now, the news coverage of Rush Limbaugh's passing is, it's horrifying, actually. I saw these stories coming out insulting, denigrating, disparaging, and I saw Rush, and I see the Twitter trends. And I don't want to say anything bad about the man. I want to say good things about him. I've never listened to Rush Limbaugh. I've never. So maybe that's a criticism for me. The left can bring up saying Tim doesn't truly understand just how awful he was. But I've heard so much from the left, so much hatred and anger when things like this happen. In the wake of the news, I tweeted something positive. Rush Limbaugh voiced himself several times, even for a full episode of Family Guy. And I think that's amazing. Family Guy is something that regular people like. It's a pop culture reference. It's jokes. It's funny. And to regular people, seeing Rush Limbaugh as this character, making fun of himself, and also working professionally and essentially cordially and friendly with other staunch liberals like Seth MacFarlane, that's an optimistic scenario. Or I should say it's a situation that gave me hope that, even though we really, really might not like each other, we can still get along, laugh at ourselves, and move forward, and we'll keep that political fight going. But of course, the left just wants to attack. Obviously, not every single one. But there was one tweet from Matt Walsh, a conservative personality, and he said, disparaging those who have died, is the exception on the right, not the rule. But on the left, it's the rule. I don't want that to be true. Unfortunately, I think he's correct. I don't want it to be true because I don't want to create content where I'm just saying, only one side is the bad side, because they're doing the exact same thing. But I think the hard reality is, there's a tendency for this to be the case. I'm going to prove it to you. I first want to read to you good things about Rush Limbaugh, and I want to explain why. Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks tweeted this. The idea that you say artificially nice things about people after they die is weird. I've never understood the logic of it. Rush Limbaugh was a terrible person while he was alive. He made a living by attacking the powerless. His death does not in any way change or redeem that. I think Cenk Uygur is a peddler of hate. I think he generates negativity. I think his show is just outwardly mean and nasty. I understand that I've probably had my fair share of situations where I've done similarly, and I've actively been trying to avoid that as of late. I do think, however, for the past several years, I have very much tried to avoid being a nasty person. Typically, when I talk about someone like Cenk Uygur, I try to at least compliment them to a certain degree, because I don't want to make just this you're the bad guy, you're the evil kind of content. I recently did a segment talking about Cenk Uygur where I believe he was wrong, but I praised him because he made some good points. And that's the idea. Now, why would we say good things about someone we don't like? Why would Tim Pool, anti-war zealot, actually say nice things about John McCain when he passed? And I did. And conservatives did not appreciate, because nobody liked the guy. Like populist right and left, they really despised John McCain, but I still said nice things about him. And that's why I'm going to read nice things about Rush Limbaugh, and I'll tell you why. As I mentioned, I think Cenk Uygur is a hate peddler. I think the Young Turks is a network where they just try to be nasty. There are many situations where the personalities on that show have said horrifying things just to spit vile at other people. And don't get me wrong, there are individuals on the right who do the same thing. I'm not saying Rush did. I didn't listen to Rush. So by all means, criticism if you want to. Criticize him if you want to. But I'll tell you this. When Rush Limbaugh passes, I want his memory to inspire people to do good. As I've long said, when we look at history, we want the bad things to go away. We want the good things to remain. With someone like Rush Limbaugh, you may have very valid reasons for criticizing him. But when we look back at those who influenced our society, we want to remember them for the best of what they were, not the worst. Now, Rush Limbaugh may have done bad things, but I want to say good things about the man so that the people who come after us, the children who grow up, hear stories about what we should be doing instead of why we hate. I don't want to hate. I want positivity and optimism. And again, I'm not perfect, but that's why we praise people in passing. To be fair, I did see a lot of conservatives just absolutely vile behavior, attacking Ruth Bader Ginsburg when she passed. And of course, I praised her. A long and storied career, groundbreaking, shattering glass ceilings, history-making, and inspirational. I want Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I want Rush Limbaugh. I want these individuals to inspire others. I know some people may already be saying, how dare you compare Rush Limbaugh to Ruth Bader Ginsburg? They were not on the same level or whatever. Look, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a Supreme Court justice, okay? Very prominent, very powerful historical figure who did amazing things with her life. Rush Limbaugh was a conservative personality who gave his opinions and was much more bombastic, let's be honest. I mean, he was on Family Guy doing humorous things. There is a big difference. But in terms of the influence they will have in the future, I'm not saying they're the same thing or deserve the same merit. I'm simply saying that I want people to look back at these individuals of influence, regardless of where their influence comes from, and recognize the good things. I don't want to prop up the negative. The Daily Mail reports conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh dies at 70, 1 year after announcing stage 4 lung cancer diagnosis. News of Limbaugh's death was announced by his fourth wife, Catherine, on his radio show, saying, quote, "I know that I am most certainly not the Limbaugh that you tuned in to listen to today." Catherine, who was married to Limbaugh for a decade, told his viewers, "I, like you, very much wish Rush was behind this golden microphone right now, welcoming you to another exceptional 3 hours of broadcasting. It is with profound sadness I must share with you directly that our beloved Rush, my wonderful husband, passed away this morning due to complications from lung cancer. Limbaugh, who pioneered the conservative media revolution, had been diagnosed with stage 4 advanced lung cancer back in February 2020. Days after revealing he had cancer, Limbaugh attended President Donald Trump's State of the Union, where he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. First Lady Melania Trump presented him with the nation's highest civilian honor after her husband lauded Limbaugh as a special man beloved by millions of Americans and the greatest fighter and winner that you will ever meet. Limbaugh was one of Trump's most ardent supporters. In his first interview since leaving office, Trump on Wednesday paid tribute to Limbaugh in a phone interview with Fox News. Rush is irreplaceable, Trump said. Unique. He had an audience that was massive. People, whether they loved him or not, they respected him. Despite his diagnosis, Limbaugh continued to host his radio show, which had been in national syndication since 1988 throughout much of last year. He had vowed to do his program as normally and as competently as he could while undergoing treatment. He missed only a few shows in October. In his last broadcast of 2020, Limbaugh thanked his listeners for their support as he opened up about his fight with terminal cancer. "I wasn't expected to be alive today," he said. "I wasn't expected to make it to October, and then to November, and then to December. And yet here I am, and today, got some problems. But I'm feeling pretty good today." Tributes immediately poured in from high-profile Republicans and conservatives, including Donald Trump Jr., who called him a true American legend. Unflinchingly conservative, wildly partisan, bombastically self-promoting, and larger than life, Limbaugh galvanized listeners for more than 30 years with his talent for vituperation and sarcasm. They have this old photo from Talk Radio 700 KSEV Houston. They say his radio show became nationally syndicated in 1988 and quickly built a large and committed following, making him wealthy in the process. They estimate his income, Forbes, in 2018 was $84 million, putting him only behind only Howard Stern among personalities. He called himself an entertainer, but his monologues during his 3-hour weekday show broadcast on nearly 600 U.S. stations shaped the national political conversation, swaying ordinary Republicans in the direction of their party. I don't want to remember people for the horrifying things they may have said or done. I don't want to remember people, in politics for the mistakes they made. I am not talking about atrocious monsters of history. I'm talking about powerful political figures who have influenced our country in a way that millions of people liked. There's a challenge in all of this. There are historical figures who are in politics who are just downright evil. But listen, nobody's perfect. Is there a tendency to do good? Rush Limbaugh said some bad stuff. That's my understanding. Sure. Everybody does, though. I mean, the left goes on Twitter and they say horrifying things. But was Rush Limbaugh encouraging people to love this country and fight for it? I believe the answer to that is very simple. Yes. Was he an awful authoritarian despot who was destroying the lives? No. Lives of innocent Americans? No. Political opinions can get dicey because often we find ourselves at odds with each other. And the left often accuses people on the right of being bigoted and hateful and trying to take away people's rights. And I'm sure there are many things you can criticize Rush Limbaugh for. But right now, you need to recognize that in this country, there are probably, 100 and some odd million, 120 million conservatives or people who at least lean that direction, who respect what Rush Limbaugh had to say as a prominent American personality. But most importantly is why I bring up the Family Guy thing. Let me show you this before I go into the news. This is important, okay? I know that these leftists, they just want to hate. They want to post nasty stuff on Twitter and mock me for saying I loved Rush Limbaugh on Family Guy. He appeared in an episode called Excellence in Broadcasting. They say on this is a Wikipedia excerpt. On the Rush Limbaugh show on September 27th, 2010, Limbaugh explained that he agreed to do the episode based on his continuing friendly relationship with Seth MacFarlane, commenting, "Seth appreciates and has a great affection for professionals, and we're all professionals here." Limbaugh went on to reveal that he was in the studio sound booth for 3 or 4 days at 4 hours at a time while recording his lines for the episode, as well as for the accompanying musical number, which Limbaugh admitted to being something of a challenge. Later on his show, Limbaugh went on to criticize Fox's public relations department, following a comment by Andrew Breitbart accusing the Fox broadcasting company of burying the episode. Limbaugh also admitted, however, there was nothing in the script that he would want them to edit out. The show was funny. Limbaugh was self-deprecating. I mean, the show essentially made fun of him to a certain degree, but it also allowed him to express some of his more reasonable positions. It made him look like a normal guy. I have tremendous respect for Seth MacFarlane, a very anti-Trump staunch liberal, maintaining that friendship because we cannot let the divide in this country grow so great that we can't recognize the good things in other people. That's what's terrifying about those villains from history's past, from our past. They were the people that wanted to exacerbate the worst in everyone, and we criticize them for it. And this is what's shocking to me. I saw this story from The Hill. Rush Limbaugh dead at 70. I'm not going to show you what they write, and I'm not going to read to you what they write. I'm not going to read to you what they highlight, because I'm just saddened by this. It's frustrating to me. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed, there was nothing but respect for this woman from mainstream conservatives and from the left. We came together and understood the accomplishments of this woman, even when we did not agree with what she was advocating for. And I'm not saying me, I'm saying people in this country. We recognize that we may not like what they do. John McCain, of all people, warmonger. There's a lot to say about that guy that is not good. Basically, nobody liked him. But I will still say nice things about him, his passion for his country, fighting for what he believed in, because I want those ideas to persist with the next generation and within us. not the bad things. I don't want the bad things to persist. I don't want the bad ideas to be the central point of these individuals. Don't get me wrong. These people deserve to be criticized, and they should be. And we can resume criticism later on. But we want to focus on making sure the best of the best persists. Over at The Hill, they highlight a ton of tweets from people praising him and with respect. Burgess Owens says, sad to hear about the passing of Rush Limbaugh. I'm thankful for the conversations over the years and for your voice. You will be missed. Left-leaning critics of Limbaugh also reacted to the news of his death on social media, including former Democratic candidate Marianne Williamson. She tweeted, I believe in a God who is very tenderly explaining some things to Rush Limbaugh right now. Limbaugh, I assume, is very quiet and taking it all in. I respect that 100%. Marianne Williamson, I think you're awesome. Thank you so much. I think there's a lot of things I can criticize you for and you can criticize me for. But I respect the idea that Marianne Williamson, who has a negative view of Rush Limbaugh, simply says Limbaugh is now meeting a tenderly God who is explaining things to him. Marianne Williamson saying that Rush Limbaugh is in heaven right now, speaking with God and learning from the things she thinks that he got wrong. And then I look at some of these other messages from people that are asking him how the temperature is down there and just being all around awful. And Donald Trump did these things too. He talked about, it was a politician who I believe who died, or a woman's husband who died. And he said he may be looking up. Yeah, I don't like any of that. Okay. It wasn't nearly as bad, to be completely honest. Trump, being bombastic and being who Trump is. I've long said he needed to learn how to, chill things out and calm things down. And a lot of people liked that he did that. And a lot of people liked ragging on Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And I hate all of it. With respect, Marianne Williamson, that was a beautiful, beautiful sentiment from someone who doesn't like Rush Limbaugh. And people then, the Hill then goes on to show a bunch of really awful things. And I wonder why we need that. I don't think we do. Over at Breitbart, they write this. Talk radio legend Rush Limbaugh dies at 70. I want to make sure I can stress again, as we're now just passing the middle of the segment, I've not listened to Rush Limbaugh. A few things here and there passively, but I've never turned on his show. And I'm sure there's things he should be criticized for, 100%. By all means, there are many things I should be criticized for. I don't get everything right all the time. But I can at least recognize why we try to respect people in death. Because it's a sad and scary thing, and we want to respect the feelings of others. The story from Breitbart is very straightforward. It explains he's a legend. It shows many people cheering him on, and that's it. That's it. They called him a legend. They say he passed away. It's sad. The Hill, Huffington Post, the Daily Beast, many other outlets made sure to include all of the vile, awful behavior of these leftists. The Huffington Post and the Daily Beast were just nasty. The Hill included the nasty statements, and I'm glad they did, because it's a point that needs to be made and shown to people. When Rush Limbaugh passes, and he's widely respected and revered by conservatives, you can at least say, I feel for you. I recognize your pain. And that statement from Marianne Williamson, I think, was an excellent way of being respectful and critical. How many people have posted that Rush Limbaugh is in hell and she said he's with God? It's beautiful, because I don't expect her to love the man. But I am glad that the Hill at least showed us all of these people and the things they're saying and how awful they are, because as Matt Walsh stated, let me read you Matt Walsh's tweet. He says, I don't remember rest and piss trending in response to any prominent liberal's death. Celebrating death is a left-wing thing. On the right, it is the exception. On the left, the rule. They are a death cult, and they truly want you to die if you disagree with them. They really do. A bit bold, to say the least. I'm not a fan of, even pushing that. But the sentiment, the idea from Matt, it's true. And it's sad. Breitbart wrote this of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies at 87. This is Breitbart. Andrew Breitbart's publication, one of the most prominent conservative outlets in the country, maybe even in the world. They write, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the High Court's most senior liberal justice, has died due to complications, et cetera, et cetera. The Supreme Court announced Friday evening. This is from last September. They then show the statement from the Supreme Court. They go on to mention that she had many health issues. She had twice been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Mark Meadows praises her, a trailblazer, a dedicated public servant. John Santucci, multiple sources confirm. And that's it. That's it. No scathing attack on her character. No insults. No bragging or laughing or mocking the idea that she may be in hell. They just didn't do it. But why is it that when I go to the Huffington Post, Rush Limbaugh, bigoted king of talk radio, dies? Limbaugh saturated America's airwaves with cruelty and conspiracies. Dude, the guy just died. Can you at least say one nice thing? Over at the Daily Beast, Rush Limbaugh, the human megaphone who hijacked the GOP, dead at 70. Marrying shock jock bravado with incendiary right-wing rhetoric, Limbaugh became AM radio's most popular talk show host and took an entire political party with him. I love this one. Well, I can certainly respect the influence of Rush Limbaugh and how he influenced Republicans. I can also point out that people who never liked the Republican Party and have nothing but disdain for them are now acting shocked or angry that Rush Limbaugh in some way changed the party. One post from someone talked about how Rush Limbaugh had created the space for Trump and Trumpism and all this stuff. And I said, you never cared about the Republicans before. In fact, you hated them. You hate them just as much today. I don't think you actually care about what Rush Limbaugh did to the Republican Party. I think many of these people just want to hate. They want to write their hate. They want their hate vocalized. Now, look, I don't know if it's a fair comparison. Breitbart versus the Huffington Post, perhaps. But I take a look at these articles about how Breitbart is willing to write about their enemies and or their political adversaries, I should say. I don't want to say enemies. And how the Huffington Post is willing to do it. And it exemplifies what Matt Walsh said. On the left, there are people tweeting horrifying things that we see all the time. Insults, derision, just vile, vile behavior. And they don't care. There's no reason to talk to them because they don't care. These are the people who say that conservatives have no empathy. And I find that absolutely hilarious because I think the inverse is true. I certainly think there are many leftists who do have empathy, but I think for the most part, they're being driven by tribal rage. They're the ones who are saying that all conservatives want to do is own the libs, and they write article after article about it. Sure, they can isolate the exception to the rule that there are many on the right who just want to own the libs. They have fun doing it. And many of them are conspiracists and in cults. Sure. But that's the exception, not the rule. The prominent conservative base has been respectful to the left and the right in passing. And the prominent conservative base rejected the conspiracies and the Q stuff a long time ago. But now they just demand you bend the knee to them while they insult, deride, and attack. They call for unity while they still do this. I made a tweet about Family Guy. Why? As I mentioned earlier, regular people can relate to it. And what does the left do? They use it to mock and belittle. My attempts at just saying it's cool that he did this. Who are these people? You know, I just genuinely wonder who these people are. I have this story from Huffington Post. I was planning on reading it, but I just don't want to do it. Because now is not the time to be insulting a man who is fighting with cancer and just lost his life. And part of me is upset that I even have to bring up the negativity in the first place. But I'll tell you one thing. Rush Limbaugh has granted us a very important story in his passing. One last message to be sent to everybody to show you what this fight is all about. Again, never been a fan of Rush Limbaugh. Just not listened to him. Don't have anything really to say. He never was an influence on me. I just did not listen to his show. But this message that's being conveyed now is important because we are all fighting in this culture war for the things we value most. Now, the left is certainly fighting for something. And I say the left as a generality. Obviously, not everybody on the left. There are many leftists I really do like and are probably tweeting very nice things. Some of them are being critical. Marianne Williamson was critical, and it was respectful, and I appreciate that. But I fight for freedom. You know, I believe in liberty. I believe in the right of the individual, and that means protecting the minority and minorities. It means protecting those who would be oppressed by the state, and that means certain individuals who want their human rights protected deserve it. I lean left on social justice issues, not right. And it's remarkable because the left would tell you that's not true, but it absolutely is. I mean, anybody who's actually listened to all of my content will recognize I'm center-left libertarian. I have too many people who complain. They're like, you know, there was one tweet where it was really funny. It was like, Tim Pool does a great show, but man, are his economic policies stupid. And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad we don't agree, but we can come together on the things we do agree on. So what is this space that we're in? I don't know. It's about empathy. And if you have empathy and sympathy, you want to respect other people's freedoms and right to live their lives. You also recognize there's going to be some nasty people who say some nasty stuff, and I do. And I want to point it out that the worst time to say something, awful about somebody is when they pass. But this is the story the point I'm trying to make. With Rush Limbaugh's passing, he has given us a clear image that we can show right now. When Ruth Bader Ginsburg passes, universal respect, with the exception of many on the right. Rush Limbaugh passes, controversy, controversial. I'm fighting for a world where I can recognize that John McCain was a kind of a bad dude, but still provide the people who supported him, and many did, and his family with some chance to grieve, because death is painful. It's excruciatingly painful, and not everybody's experienced it. Maybe that's the reason. Maybe many of these people on the left, maybe these younger people have not experienced a direct loss. Some of them maybe have, but I wouldn't wish that feeling on anybody. It's a terrifying feeling. It's painful. If you don't have empathy, then perhaps that's what it really is. It's a sociopathy. I'm a skateboarder. Many of you probably know this. When you watch skate videos and you are watching a video of someone attempting a dangerous maneuver and they fall, you get a jolt of pain in your body. It's very difficult to watch. I don't like watching, they're called slam videos or, slam compilations. You'll see a pro and they'll go for a trick and then boom, they flop on the ground and I just feel it. Oh, I feel that pain. And I'm like, oh. You get a jolt. Why? It's called empathy. That feeling you get is actually used in studies to determine someone's level of empathy. When you watch someone else experience pain, do you get that feeling? When I see people mourning the loss of even Rush Limbaugh, I don't want them to hurt. I don't want people to feel pain. I've had family members die, and it is, I'm sure many of you have experienced this, but the feeling you get, it's like you wish you had superpowers. You wish you had the ability to rip the fabric of the universe itself asunder and just force reality to be what you want, but you can't control it. You watch the ones you love pass. I don't want anybody to feel that way. I don't care if they're on the left or the right or up, down, whatever. That's why I oppose the death penalty, even for some of the worst people in the world. Death is, it's inevitable, I suppose. But we want to avoid it because, we want to protect and respect life. And that includes people like Rush Limbaugh. That includes the unborn. And I understand a lot of people will challenge me on my position because I am pro-choice. And I understand that I recognize the difficult morality in these positions. And you may completely disagree or not understand. And I respect that. And I always throw it back to the conversation I had with Glenn Beck, who's very pro-life. And we talked about it and we shrugged and shook hands. And I think Glenn's awesome. And, trust me when I say it's a very difficult and complicated positions when it comes to morality. It is. There's no easy answer. But so long as we're able to have that conversation and discuss it, then, we're better off. That being said, please don't lump me in with what the left is doing right now with the argument between life and choice, because I think they're psychotic. I think what they're putting forward is just downright evil. And so here we are. I'm not surprised. Rush may have done a lot of things for a lot of people. He may have helped this country in a lot of ways. He may have hurt in a lot of ways. I think, it's impossible to do anything in the public light without causing some damage at some point. And maybe some of the ideas he had were bad. But I look at a lot of people who are conservatives today and the good things they fight for, the things that I think are right, and I can respect the work Rush Limbaugh did in that capacity. Moving forward, he's left us with one last powerful message. The evil, the vile, the rage, the sociopathy that you see from these people, let it be shown. Let us see what they have to say, and please share it with your friends and family and let them know. You don't have to be a conservative. You don't have to like Rush Limbaugh. You don't have to like Donald Trump. In fact, you can despise them. You can hate them with every ounce of your being, and you can recognize why you don't say these things. You recognize humanity. So I'll stress that last point one more time to Marianne Williamson. It was a beautiful criticism. I think Marianne is awesome. She tries. When she was running for president, she very much tried to avoid being one of these hate mongers. And that, my friends, is awesome. Michael Malice posted something funny, and I think this is absolutely worthy of sharing. Michael Malice is a genius. Michael, you're a genius. He said, "What do you think Rush Limbaugh is saying to George Floyd right now?" And I retweeted this and I laughed. And I'm glad he did, because he said something simple in this troll of Twitter, that Rush and George are in the same place right now. Okay. I am not a theist, I'm not theistic. I don't believe in theistic religion. I don't necessarily know or have any strong feelings on the idea of a heaven or a hell. But I understand those who do. And I understand the idea that they're in the same place, and you can take it for what it is. But I think, I appreciate Michael bringing levity to the situation. I retweeted it because I thought now's a time that we can all laugh, be presented with some kind of, I don't know. It's a question that is just going to rile people up, I guess. But it will make you laugh. I think Rush would have laughed. And to me, I view this as, it's sad George Floyd passed the way he did. I don't care, if you want to argue the reason or Tucker Carlson or whatever. I don't like seeing people die. And I like the idea that, Rush and George are maybe up in heaven right now, and they're laughing, and they're like, I understand now. And that's all that matters. That there's something that we can hope for. But, seeing this stuff is emotional. It's sad, man. It breaks my heart seeing the things the left are saying. And it breaks my heart seeing the things that, like I said, the exception, the conservatives going after Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It makes me want to just, ugh. It breaks my heart hearing about war. It breaks my heart hearing about drone strikes, about what the things that some of these groups in the Middle East have done to other people and what they do. And I fully recognize that if these evil people are, must be stopped, then they must be stopped. I disagree with the death penalty because we've stopped them already, and now I guess we just don't want to pay for their existence. But I just don't like the idea of killing. That's about it. I'll tell you, the last thing I'll say is I feel like it strengthens my resolve. And, I see these things on Twitter and these trends that are popping up, and I don't even want to read what, I'll tell you one thing just so you know. Hashtag good riddance. Disgusting. But I know what I'm up against, and I know what you can see it now as well, and you can share with your friends. I believe in empathy. The reason why I believe in universal basic health coverage is because I don't want to see people suffering. And I'm willing to pay the extra cost to make sure they aren't suffering. And then I look at what these people claim to want, and it's just like they want stuff. They want it for themselves. I wish for a better future. I suppose I can just leave it there. Rest in peace, Rush Limbaugh. I did not know you very well nor listen to your show, but with tremendous respect to the influence you had on those who supported you, and for the long and storied career, and for the work you did that allowed channels like mine to exist, which may even respectfully disagree with you. I think it's all, good. And I think we need to remember the good things and do away with the bad things. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. I'll see you all tonight at 8 p.m. at youtube.com/TimCastIRL for the live show. Again, thanks for hanging out.